When Rian Johnson first introduced us to Benoit Blanc in Knives Out, it felt like the revival of the modern murder mystery. Then came Glass Onion, bigger, flashier, and packed with clever twists. But now, with the third installment Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery, things take a darker turn. This time, Johnson moves away from Christie-inspired storytelling and dives into something closer to Edgar Allan Poe. The film draws from G.K. Chesterton's Father Brown mysteries, and instead of eccentric millionaires or tech moguls, the spotlight falls on religion, specifically two priests with wildly different philosophies, Monsignor Wicks, played by Josh Brolin, and Father Judd, played by Josh O'Connor. At its core, though, the movie never strays too far from the theme that's run through the entire franchise: greed. The story sets up a new circle of suspects, each with their own reasons to want Wicks gone. He's brash, controlling, and far from likable, which makes his death less of a tragedy and more of an invitation to uncover secrets. Judd, on the other hand, carries a complicated past but is portrayed with an honesty that pulls the audience to his side. He may have shadows trailing behind him, but his sincerity makes him one of the few characters we actually root for. Enter Benoit Blanc, once again played by Daniel Craig. Usually the unstoppable center of these mysteries, Blanc feels different here, less comfortable, less certain. Religion isn't his world, and you can feel his unease. He's still sharp and witty, but more subdued, more observant than we've seen him before. Pairing him with Father Judd creates one of the film's most compelling dynamics. Their chemistry works because they don't clash, they balance. Blanc's skepticism sits opposite Judd's quiet faith, and instead of battling, the two find common ground. It makes their scenes magnetic and brings out a more protective side of Blanc we haven't seen before. But when you look beyond these central performances, cracks start to show. The supporting cast is impressive, names like Kerry Washington, Jeremy Renner, Andrew Scott, Mila Kunis, and even Glenn Close, but most of them aren't given enough to work with. They serve as red herrings more than fleshed-out suspects, and that thin writing strips the mystery of some of its bite. Josh Brolin does stand out, delivering as a radical priest whose intensity drives people away, while Glenn Close brings gravitas to her role as a devout believer with ties to Wicks. Still, compared to the sharp character work of Knives Out and Glass Onion, this ensemble feels underused. The tone is noticeably heavier than previous films, but Johnson keeps just enough humor to stop it from collapsing under its own weight. A dramatic moment can flip into a laugh within seconds, and that balance keeps the audience engaged even when the pacing drags. Unfortunately, there are more slow patches here than before, and the whip-smart dialogue that made the earlier films so endlessly quotable is toned down. That doesn't mean Wake Up Dead Man is a failure. Far from it. It's still an intriguing mystery with twists that keep you guessing and performances that hold your attention. It just doesn't reach the heights of the franchise's first two entries. Where Knives Out felt fresh and Glass Onion felt bold, this one feels reflective, interested in faith, morality, and power, but without fully sticking the landing. In the end, the film is enjoyable, with flashes of brilliance and a central duo that works beautifully, but it also leaves you with a realization: the mystery isn't as sharp, the excitement not quite as electric. The franchise hasn't lost its charm completely, but with this darker turn, it may have lost some of its magic.